Now on KGW News, a town gutted by wildfire.
My house burned too, so I feel for these customers,
Now worried they won't be able to survive the economic devastation. Plus, managing vaccine frustrations.
We're concerned that they're going to come to the hospital and expect a vaccine, and we're not going to necessarily have the supply to deliver it.
Oregon hospitals explain just because you're eligible for the COVID shot doesn't mean you'll be able to get it. And later, a bright spot for Blazers fans as Damian Lillard welcomes 2 new members of Rip City. We start with frustration from Oregon hospitals over the supply and demand for the COVID vaccines. Thanks for being here. I'm Laurel Porter. As the governor expands vaccine eligibility, the hospitals want you to understand you might have to wait longer than you think for a shot. Catherine Cook explains.
Managing vaccine expectations.
When they are eligible, it may take weeks or even months to actually schedule an appointment.
Becky Hultberg is president and CEO of the Oregon Association of Hospitals and Health Systems. She's concerned that Governor Brown's latest timeline for vaccinating Oregonians will create demand that the state simply won't be able to meet with its vaccine supply.
We support those goals, but we also believe that we need to be realistic with the supply that we have and not give people false hope.
The Oregon Health Authority released this new vaccination timeline. Beginning January 25th, teachers will be eligible for the vaccine. On February 7th, people 80 and older will be eligible, with progressively younger seniors added in the weeks that follow. By February 28th, seniors 65 and older will be eligible. But the timeline projects that by May, just 78% of teachers and seniors will have gotten the shot.
I think there's a recognition that this is going to take a long time. I'm just not sure it's been explained well to the public. And we don't want people to expect something that they're not going to be able to have for in some cases, weeks and maybe even months.
On Friday, Governor Brown defended her plan to vaccinate educators ahead of seniors, saying she's using every tool to get kids back in the classroom this year.
It deserves being said again. The long-term mental health, social, emotional, and academic impacts of our kids being out of the classroom are significant.
Hultberg said, to be clear, the association's concern is not with how the governor is prioritizing the vaccine. It's with overexpanding eligibility and the community's expectations.
So it's really hard to be put in a position where we know so many people are anxious to get the vaccine, and we know we're not going to have the supplies to deliver it to everybody when they want it.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
And the path to a vaccine is a little clearer tonight for one group. We found out today teachers and others connected to schools in the greater Portland area will be contacted early next week by their districts. They'll get an online link to sign up for their COVID shot. Nearly all of those vaccinations will take place at the Oregon Convention Center. The mass vaccination site will start giving those shots out next Wednesday. So in Oregon, who will get the shot after teachers and those over 65? A committee is still deciding that. 2 groups have risen to the top of their list: BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and people who have chronic conditions that put them more at risk. A big question some asked, is it legal to set priority for the vaccine by race?
We're not picking, for example, the BIPOC communities because they're ethnic or because they're Black or Latino, because they've been impacted so severely by COVID. To me, whatever we do is driven by data.
The state is reviewing the legality of the list. The group meets again next Thursday to review their final recommendations. We'll be sure to let you know what they decide. Now, not to make things more confusing, but remember the rules are different if you live in Washington. There, anyone 65 and over is now eligible for the vaccine. But the struggle to distribute those quickly is still the same. The state is still working to get all healthcare workers their first doses, and they're not getting enough vaccine to get through the 300,000 seniors all at once. Washington is planning mass vaccine clinics. The closest one to us will open at the Clark County Fairgrounds in Ridgefield. That's supposed to happen next week, but we don't know yet if you need an appointment in advance. In the meantime, there is a form you can fill out on the Clark County Health Department's website to help you get access to the vaccine. Many of you in Oregon are also wondering how you're supposed to make an appointment for the COVID vaccine for seniors. And we thank Sharon for the question. The answer, unfortunately, is We don't know yet. There is no centralized place for you to make an appointment or get on a list right now. We know that mass vaccine clinics in Oregon will eventually be open to seniors, but they're not yet. Doctors' offices and pharmacies are also hoping to get vaccine, but they don't know when that will happen. You can keep checking back with us or check your county health department websites often because some counties may move faster than others based on supply. We have a team dedicated to getting answers to your vaccine questions. You can text the number on your screen right now. It's 503-226-5088 with your questions, or text the word vaccine to get a link straight to our latest coverage. We want to get an early look now at your forecast for the weekend, as some of you could see snow this weekend. Matt, what's the latest on that?
Well, it's certainly cold enough for snow outside right now. The problem is, if you're a snow lover, there's a clear sky. And we'll get into the snow in a minute, but I want to start with this because it's already below freezing in King City. Vancouver's at 32, so is Hillsborough. So it is one of our coldest nights of the winter so far. It may end up being just that by tomorrow morning. See, it's at or below freezing in several locations around the metro area. But here's the lowdown on the snow down low. The forecast hasn't really changed. I'm not expecting snow on the valley floor, so most of us will not see any significant snowfall. There could be a wet snowflake that survives the fall to the valley floor early on Sunday morning, but no accumulations until you get above really about 1,000 feet. Then we could see several inches above 1,000 feet and especially above 1,500 feet. But even the top of the West Hills, a dusting at best. I really don't think it's going to be cold enough for us to get a widespread snowfall. There's another chance coming our way Tuesday night, or Tuesday really, and into Wednesday. And we'll talk more about that one a little bit later on. And again, on our modeling, you can see there's a little bit of snow, sandy, up in Battleground, perhaps that's for Sunday, but that would be about it. You know who else is going to get snow? The mountains. They're going to get a lot of snow. We'll finish off this beautiful sky time lapse for you and talk about how much is coming to the ski areas a little bit later. Laurel?
You definitely have our attention. Thank you, Matt. 4.5 months after flames tore through the Santiam Canyon, the city of Gates is sending out an urgent plea for help. The Beachy Creek fire wiped out half of what was there, and leaders told our Morgan Romero the city may not survive.
Wildfires devastated the small town of Gates.
That's the whole town of Gates right there.
I lost 50 years of my life, that I've been working for.
And people deal with more devastation as the recovery process drags on and the wheels of bureaucracy turn slowly.
There's no help coming in, and people want to get home, and our people are suffering up here. Our state is going to suffer from this.
In wiping out half the homes in Gates, Mayor Ron Carmichael says the Beachy Creek fire wiped out almost half its revenue, which was small to begin with.
We're just barely crawling along at this point.
No, we don't have any money saved, no, because we owe on loans.
City Council decided Thursday not to charge wildfire victims for water utilities they're not using, cutting water infrastructure resources nearly in half.
My house burned too, so I feel for these customers,
They may charge people whose homes were spared more to make up the difference.
We have to do something to try and maintain the city.
Gates desperately needs money now for utilities and payroll to keep functioning.
Those are the two things that there doesn't seem to be any money out there to help support.
Our situation now is we need immediacy.
City leaders fear they won't be able to run their water plant, pay staff, or offer services. They fear the city could go under in a few months.
There won't be a city if something doesn't happen.
Excuse me.
Oregon lawmakers dedicated about $100 million to wildfire recovery, prevention, and preparedness. But Gates leaders say they haven't seen any of it. They want Governor Brown and Oregon lawmakers to push the federal government to help.
We need money to get into the position to where we can rebuild, where we can bring in our citizens can survive. The canyon can survive.
There is some hope. City leaders say Marion County commissioners told them that they're going to be sending them money from the state, but it's unclear what for. I reached out to the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, which told me its director is working directly with towns like Gates, communities impacted by the wildfires, to help offset some of the costs of rebuilding. But again, in Gates, that need is immediate.
Boy, we sure hope they get help soon. Just in tonight, we have learned Lake Oswego schools are putting a pause on their reopening plans. They were going to start back February 4th. In a letter to parents, the superintendent said, quote, after listening to compelling rationale from our teachers and staff, consulting with local public health authorities, coordinating with vaccine distribution leads, and weighing operational logistics, Lake Oswego needs to change the start for returning elementary students to a later date in February. That new timeline has still not been announced. Next, more